Hello, guys. My name is Bruce. I'm an addict. I'm a Christian, and I'm going to share with you a little bit about my addiction, but mostly about my path to Christ. So I grew up in a household. My father was an alcoholic. I had twin brothers. They were a year and a half older than I was. So I was outnumbered my whole life. And I don't know if you guys know about any families that have twins, but twins get all the attention. And so I felt pretty small. I felt pretty minor in my household. I was not Bruce. I was Ricky and Randy's brother. So, I lived in a fairly dark place growing up. And I'm going to share with you a poem that I wrote when I was 15 years old. Because it shows where I started, where I came from, where the darkness was. And it's very short. It goes like this. There is a fear in man. He calls it insecurity. He cannot live with those he fears, but yet to be alone leaves me insanity. And so, I showed that poem to my brother one day, and he grabbed it from my hands and he ripped it up. And this was my brother Ricky, who was, he would abuse me almost as much as my father. And so I grabbed him and I put my arm around his neck and I wrestled him to the ground and I raised my hand. I was going to punch him in the face, and something stopped me. I look back now and I realize it was the Holy Spirit that stopped me, because that's not who I am. That's not who I want to be. So for many years, I was probably 18 when I started using drugs. I was 42 when I stopped. And over those years, by the way, thank you. James, is it? Thank you, James. That was beautiful. And Steve, you touched my heart, because I know that there's a way out. And for me, the way out started, I used to go to Colombia. Yeah, I love Colombia. And I would, how should I put this? I would bring back souvenirs. And by the way, I was also a lawyer. And as my drug addiction grew, then I wouldn't answer the phone, because my income went from lawyering to selling souvenirs. So you guys all know what that means. Anyway, one year I went to Colombia. I was looking for souvenirs, and I didn't find any. So I came back without any souvenirs, and because that had become my principal source of income, I was in, a little bit of financial trouble at the time. So I went to the mailbox about 2 days after I got back, and I opened the mail, and inside was a letter from the Law Society of Upper Canada. And it said, Bruce, you have not kept accurate books and records. Any books and records. And if you don't provide us with a copy of a complete set of books and records within 30 days, we're going to suspend you. And I thought, I'm reading this letter walking back into the house. And I get into the kitchen. And as soon as I was 2 steps into the kitchen, the phone rings. So I don't know, this was around the time where they had instituted the GST tax, and they made us collect it. They made us work for them without compensation. And so I collected a lot of GST over the years, and I hadn't remitted any. And you guys know why. I mean, I needed that money for something else. So I remember in that moment breaking down and falling to my knees on the kitchen floor and crying like a baby. So now I look back at all this, and this was one of God's interventions. This was one of God's convictions in my life. And I didn't know what to do, so I ended up calling another friend who I knew had the similar issues, and he sent me to my first Narcotics Anonymous meeting. And that was March 21st, 1993. And You guys, I know there's a lot of people here that are in recovery, so most of you are familiar with the third step, made a decision to turn our will and the care of our lives over to the God of our understanding. And that began my search for God. When I got to the third step, it was like, okay, you're not telling me what God is. You're not showing me what God is. I have to look and seek for what God is. So for the next 19 years, I spent a lot of time trying to improve my connection with the God of my understanding. And at first, it was just completely undefinable, which was okay. But I was able, because I'm clean now, I was able to see all these miracles happening in my life. I was able to see the miracle of the 3 interventions that got me into recovery. I was able to see how many times God had saved me from dangerous, idiotic situations. I was able to see all these things. And as I was able to see all of these things, my faith just continued to grow little by little. I still hadn't come to Christ. And then I'd been in recovery a number of years. I'd sponsored a lot of people, and I was living in Windsor at the time. And I had a sponsee who was part of the worship band at his church. And he said, Bruce, I really want you to come and see me perform. So I said, well, okay, I'll do that. So I went on the Sunday, and I had every intention of listening to the music and leaving. So after the band had played about 3 worship songs, I was getting ready to get up and leave, and the pastor walked in. And he was wearing blue jeans and a white t-shirt. And I'm like, wow, that can't be the pastor, because that's not what my history in church were like. But then he started to preach. And he started to preach to me. Everything he said was what I needed to hear. Everything he said went into my heart. I could feel the Holy Spirit before I even knew really what the Holy Spirit was, but I could feel it. It was visceral. It was moving. And I started going to church, and I kept going to church. So I'm going to end with this, because I don't like to talk too long. I get addicted to it. But I'm going to end with this. This is why I love Union City Church, okay? For me, I need 2 things in my church. I need them to study the Bible. Not just give a sermon where it's this and this and that. I need them to take passages of the Bible, and I need them to break it down. I need them to help me. That's why I need Bible study. I need to learn. Because the more I learn, the more I realize I'm in the right place. And the second thing that I need is love and community. And I've been so welcomed here. I've been so made a part of this family. But having said all that, the Church of Christ is not here in this church. The Church of Christ is everywhere. And to the best of my ability, I'm going to do 2 things for the rest of my life. I'm going to carry the message of Narcotics Anonymous, and I'm going to is it disciple, John? Is that the right word? I'm going to disciple to the best of my ability. And I got to tell you, if you've ever had the opportunity of praying for someone in public, laying your hand on them, and asking the Holy Spirit to come and let them rest in their peace, then you will have experienced one of the most wonderful, joyful things in the entire world. Thanks. My name is Bruce Manatic.